Beyond the Badge is brought to you by the Edina Crime Prevention Fund and AAA Minneapolis.
Welcome to Beyond the Badge, a program about the inner workings of the Edina Police and Fire Departments. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sergeant Brian Hubbard. Before new police recruits can put on an officer's uniform, each must pass a written test, 3 rounds of panel interviews, as well as psychological and medical evaluations. This intense 3-month process is so stringent that out of more than 80 recent applicants, only 40 were brought back for interviews, and of those, only 3 were hired and are being trained. Edina TV's Dietrich Nissen spoke with the 3 newest recruits and has more on the new officer training process.
After a first day of meeting city staff, new officers are brought to this building behind me, the South Metro Public Safety Training Facility here in Edina. It's here that new officers are shown that no matter where they come from, they're going to learn how to do things the Edina way.
We never, ever, ever search with a handgun. We search with a flashlight because that's what they give them to us. Okay?
When you're hired to join a destination department, sometimes the best thing to do
generally my cover officers
is to be quiet and listen.
You know, I'm truly just excited. I think I'm blessed to have this opportunity, and I'm taking the most of it. I think you know, walking into this department, which is highly respected, and just being a sponge and soaking all that up is really the best thing to do at this point, so I'm excited for that.
Derek Palmer came from working at a corrections facility in Washington County. This is his first experience as a police officer.
As far as our firearms, I thought our firearms was definitely a step above anything I've done so far. With skills, getting those extra reps and doing some of those drills that we haven't done before, I feel like was great training compared to anything I've received before.
Reload.
Training that's similar to what the other 2 new officers, Travis Nordhus and Charlie Possert, have seen at previous departments, but both say is helpful to revisit.
It's one of those things that you can always get better at, you can always improve, so I enjoy it.
They do a great job throughout the whole process.
So it's not this, it's this.
My job to prepare them for the next phase of training, which is the on-the-road training. So I see it as it's my job to provide them with the tools for success, to make it as an individual. And like a sergeant used to say, once they make it as an individual, it's up to them to make it as part of a team.
Edina's current training officer, Jason Bear, has trained in 4 officers since starting his position. But his role is also to teach current officers the latest techniques.
Training officer has a whole bunch of different roles, from making sure that the department meets post requirements, police officer standards and training, state board requirements for training, and then obviously I coordinate ongoing training, coordinate quarterly shoots, coordinate in-services, which we have twice a year, and then kind of any other project that happens to come up along the way. For instance, we changed our use of force program this year. We implemented new handguns.
It's a great department. There's a lot of opportunity here, and I think that by and large, Edina is probably one of the most well-respected departments within their community and has a lot of that community support, which is awesome.
All 3 officers say they plan to serve Edina for many years.
I'm excited for it and excited to get it out there on the road.
For me, getting into law enforcement for the first time, I couldn't have asked for a better department.
The training in this facility is just the beginning for new officers. After this, they'll spend 4 months with a veteran officer patrolling the city. Their final challenge is to take over a shift completely while the veteran officer observes them to make sure they can work on their own. In Edina, Dietrich Nissen, Edina TV.
All new officers were licensed by the Minnesota Peace Officer Standards and Training Board and are on probation with the city for 1 year. Motor vehicle accidents continue to be the leading cause of death and injury for all children, which is why it's so important to buckle them up correctly. Under state law, all children under 8 years old or shorter than 4 feet 9 inches are required to be fastened in a child safety seat. Motorists who are unbelted or are carrying unbuckled passengers can face a ticket and a fine of up to more than $100. If the financial penalty isn't incentive enough, maybe your life or the life of a loved one is. According to AAA, correctly restraining a child in a car seat can reduce their risk of injury by 82% and risk of death by 28% compared to children in seatbelts alone.
So in the state of Minnesota, it is required by law for your child who is under the age of 8 to be in a booster or a car seat unless they are 4'9" and 10 inches or taller, because if the seatbelt is not hitting them at the correct place, if they get into a car crash and the seatbelt's coming across their neck, that could cause a critical or a fatal injury.
If you've got an old car seat and it needs to be recycled, head to AAA Minneapolis' St. Louis Park headquarters, located off of Highway 100 and Excelsior Boulevard. The company is hosting a 2-day recycling event, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Friday, September 28th, and 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday, September 29th. 9 years ago, we started this show, Beyond the Badge. Thanks for joining us. I'm Officer Brian Hubbard. Fasten your seatbelts, Edina, Minnesota. Throughout its 95 episodes, I've had the honor of sharing all kinds of information and stories connected to the work the City of Edina's emergency service personnel do on a daily basis. From safety messages and interviews on how things work.
Thanks, Brian. We're back for another segment of How's It Work?
And then over here, this is the taser unit.
There's a fairly new piece of equipment, probably not carrying those 60 years ago.
To investigative pieces on local crimes.
On April 29th, 1994, a maintenance worker arrives at Edina High School.
She laid my head, kind of pulled me, so she laid my head down on her lap and kissed me, and that was the first, sexual abuse.
And taking a behind-the-scenes look at training scenarios.
Help! What's going on, you guys? There's a shooter in the building. Okay, come on over here.
I know this is a big deal, right?
It is.
Project. And you've been doing live fire training here. Tell me about that. What's been going on?
I've accepted a position as Deputy Police Chief in Crystal. It's been a privilege to serve the residents of Edina, and I couldn't be prouder of the work we've done over these last 95 episodes. With my departure, the video production team, along with the police and fire chiefs, will take a step back and reimagine Beyond the Badge. Thank you for watching all these years. So, for one last time, on behalf of the City of Edina's Public Safety Team, thank you for tuning in to learn a little bit more of what goes on beyond the badge. Until we meet again, stay safe.